Welcome to Wild Angle episode 11. Now this week we've got a slightly different focus. It's not purely on photography, it's on conservation, because most of us wildlife photographers, we are active conservationists as well. And about a month ago, I made a really good little film on this mason bee house that was shown on the Chris Packham Morning Wildlife Show on Twitter and Facebook for the Self-Isolating Bird Club, believe it or not. It got such a big response. It was amazing. It did so much for mason bee conservation that the company that produces all the houses actually sold out. So I just want to show you this video now, and then afterwards tell you a little bit of the story of how we shot it, to give you some hints and tips what you can do for conservation and a bit of photography in your own place. So here we go. Hi Chris, hi Megan, hi everybody, and welcome to our little rewilding corner in our garden. We have lots of areas where we try to help nature, and this right now is our favourite. These are and we consider them as they're part of the family, our red mason bees. Now we've got a special bee house for them, and they're just amazing. They live all around us all of the time. They nest in these cardboard tubes that you see here. And you can see my hand going inside the hive. You think, what, are you mad? No, because they're effectively stingless. They're very, very docile, and they're just very cool characters to have around. We have them, you know, when we're sitting outside having picnics and stuff, they come and buzz all around us. You can see I'm not even flinching. I'm not scared about them at all. They're just absolutely amazing. They just want to go about their business, and I just want to share a little bit of their life with you over the next couple of minutes. We have a visitor now, right there. There's a female, look at that, with the pollen on her, and she's going into the tube there, and she'll push the pollen into the back, and that will be food later on for the larvae, okay? So she's just left again to go and get some more. They love to nest in these cavities. That's where we first found them, in our old house. They were nesting in the cavities in the house, and they were actually needed more cavities than we actually had. So we bought them a special house. We brought it down with us when we moved house, and unfortunately it's destroyed this year, but not before. All of our mason bees, and that's what it's like, we consider them as ours, all of the mason bees hatched. We've now brought them this swanky new house from UK Mason Bees, a great organisation, I hasten to say, that's taught us everything we know. And they're using it, and it's really cool. They come into these cardboard tubes, and they come in and they lay an egg, obviously, and then they bring in the pollen as food, okay, for the larva when it hatches, and then they seal it all up. As you can see here, some of them are sealed up with mud, and that's what they do. It's just amazing to watch it. I just love it. One just went in there full of pollen. It's just incredible. Now, right at the start of their life cycle gives me as a photographer an opportunity to get some really fantastic pictures, as you see here, because when they mate, it's a bit of a frenzy, a bit of a menage a trois, and I'm not going to say more. You're seeing the pictures here, and you can see exactly what I mean. It's hilarious. It's really difficult to actually photograph them when you're laughing so much, but it was awesome to watch them mating right down here. And then obviously they come in and they lay the eggs, as I said, inside the tubes. Get the food, block them up, and that's it. They'll nest until about June, and then that's it until next year. So we will take the tubes out then. UK Mason Bees gives you all the information on how to manage the cocoons and keep them safe until next year. And hopefully then when we put the tubes back in next year, we'll get the same bees will come out and hatch. Obviously, well, not the same bees, the new bees will hatch. They'll use this and we'll have a bigger population. And we're helping the population of mason bees, because mason bees are incredible pollinators. They are 200 times more effective than the honeybee at pollinating your garden. They're fantastic. Trust me, they're amazing. So have a look at UK Mason Bees, and please help us rewild our mason bee population, because they're just awesome. Well, I hope that you enjoyed that, and you can see that my passion for mason bees, in fact all bees, is really true, and it's something I've really discovered this year. Now, the modern wildlife photographer, we can't just be good at photography. We've got to be storytellers as well, and we've got to be really good at not only taking pictures, but movies and video. And you saw there, central to that whole piece that we did, was the slow motion bee flying. And you think, how did he do that? It's impossible. It's not. On most modern cameras now, if you look at your video specs, there's a setting that is specifically there to shoot super slow-mo. It might be called high action, but it will say 100 frames a second or 120 frames a second. If you set it to that, okay, then it will allow you to, in the edit, to slow it right down and get this beautifully smooth flying. It's amazing. How did we do it here? We found the tubes that were the most active during the day. Okay, we watched carefully. Then all I did, put my hand there, we manually focused, pre-focused on my hand, we had it on a tripod, we pressed record, and we went away and we let it record. Then we came back, edited it, and we found some really beautiful footage that you saw. And in my opinion, that made the story. So try it on anything that you can find. Honestly, it works. It's really beautiful. We needed to get a real hook for the video, some pictures that people would really remember and would really make them love mason bees. We turned up one day and there was lots of mating going on. All over this floor here, there were pairs of mason bees mating. In fact, there weren't only pairs, sometimes there were 4 or 5 in a stack. So I got down low on the ground. I used my new macro lens that I'd bought just for that. That's the Olympus 60mm macro on the Mark III. I got down right on the floor and laid down and used a focus stack to get the kind of effects that you see. Now, the good thing is that because you're lying on the floor and using the floor as a support, then you are completely stable. You've just got to get absolutely level with the bee. Focus stack is a fantastic technique because you get a lot more in focus than you normally would. Cameras like the Olympus do it inside using all the technology that we pay for. Other cameras, you have to manually do it, and then you can use apps on the Mac or the PC to stitch it all together. But focus stack is a really fantastic technique, and I'll talk about that in a minute. All right, now the purpose of Wild Angle is to try and inspire people to try new things. And I know there's going to be many experts out there who are a lot better at focus stacking than I am. But that's not the point of Wild Angle. I want to try and inspire the novices out there who maybe have never tried it. Like me, the first time I tried it was for these bees that you saw, the mason bees. And I apologise tonight for the fact that all the pictures I'm going to show you are of mating. Fantastic. So focus stacking is a way of combining multiple images together to make a single image, for those that you don't know, a composite image if you like. With macro, it's really, really useful because it's very hard to get a big depth of field from front to back without getting a ridiculous low shutter speed or such a huge depth of field that you get all the background in as well. Well, what focus stacking allows you to do is to combine multiple together at different focus points to get a composite image that looks brilliant as diffuse foreground and background. Now, some cameras, like my Olympus, actually have focus stacking built in. And it's really, really cool thing to do because why not let the camera do all the work? And basically, it's a lot of parameters I'm not going to go into. I'll go into those on my webinar. But basically where you set the number of steps, you set the number of shots. It takes a load of shots from front to back, and then it takes the last one out of focus and the first one out of focus, combines them all, and bingo. And here's bingo on the screen. This kind of shows you one of the problems of focus stacking. I want to show you that in that, a lot of people think it can correct an image that's not perfect. Well, it can't really. In fact, it makes it worse. Because this image is so in focus, it's very confusing when you look at it because you're not sure actually how many bees are there. In fact, I'm not sure at this moment how many bees are there. I think there's probably, it looks like 3, but I think there's actually 4. The back end of this is quite confusing. So, when you do your focus stacks, be really pedantic. The focus is great all over it. And the first time you look at it, you think, oh, everything's in focus. It's absolutely brilliant. Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant, providing you've never done it before. But once you've done a few, you kind of be looking at this thinking, that bit's out of focus there. You get quite picky about it. So do be picky. All of these images are taken with the Mark III Olympus, the 60mm macro, or ISO 800, and about f6.3, I think. And that was deliberate, because I wanted a fast shutter speed of about a 500th of a second. It was really, really important to get that because there was quite a lot of action going on, as you will see later, although it looks like a bit sedentary. Trust me, it wasn't. Right, let's look at the next one. So, the side focus stack is the easiest to get anything in focus. So when you've got something like this, where it's 45 degrees, it's a big ask to get front to back focus stack sharp, and you shouldn't really expect it. You have to set big differential steps. You could do this on Photoshop. You could take when you take the pictures, you take one on the head, one on the other head, keep going back. You could take 50 images, then use an app to combine them. Great, I can't be bothered to do that personally. Got better things to do in my life, so I'd rather do it in the camera. And here it's worked perfectly. I always focus on the subject first, so on the head of the lead subject. So you start off with the bee here right at the bottom, right on the nose, on the schnozzer, if you can call it a nose there, and then it progressively focuses and stacks back and back and back. Front image and last image completely out of focus, or everything else in between. And you know what? You don't actually need here everything to be sharp. It's a really, really nice image it is. You can clearly see what it is. You can clearly see the colour of the bee. It's really beautiful. But look at the sharpness at the front. It's really exquisite. This is why I wanted the fast shutter speed. Look at that. Oh, I've been in orgies like that, but that was only in my Navy days. It was a fantastic moment. And you may look at this one right in the middle. You can see he's actually out of focus. And you think, why is that out of focus? Well, I think because I started to stack at the bottom, they're all roughly in line, apart from the one in the middle that's slightly closer. So because it starts going at the bottom, it's going to start and go further and further and further away. That's my guesswork, while that one in the middle is slightly soft. It could also be that it's moving its head, because I can see a bit of movement on the antenna. But it forgives all that because it's funny, you know, it's amusing, you laugh at it, and focus stack gives you enough detail in that to make it look good. What I would have done if I'd have had time to react, I would have started actually on one of the feet at the bottom. That's where I'd put the focus point and let it stack across right to the top, and then maybe I'd have got a sharper image out of it. But again, that's why I set a 500th of a second, so I could, you know, because they were gradually toppling over and I didn't want the whole thing blurred. This is my favourite one of the whole lot. I think it's really nice, just a really beautiful head-on shot. Obviously the focus stack again started at the bottom and went across. You've got to keep the camera very, very still when you're doing the focus stack, so you can't jar it around. You know, you've got to have a stable platform or very, very stable hands, because all the time it's taking the pictures, it's got to be 100% stable. Any movement that you make, no matter how slight, will show in the final picture. And I'll show in a minute, actually, that's not such a bad thing. If you remember one of my wild angles where I did the macro challenge with the mating leaf beetles, you remember those vibrating antenna? Yeah, well, sometimes it can convey a message of what they're actually doing. Anyway, I kind of like this. It's really, really beautiful, I think, across. And look at them. They've all got individual characters in their faces. And I don't mind the step off in focus at all. I think the step off in focus is actually quite nice because it focuses on the important bit, which is the front there. Sometimes you expect a focus stack to do too much, you know. I see people whining, oh, the focus stack, it didn't quite get it right. Well, it's you that didn't set it right. It's not the focus stack. The focus stack does what you tell it. I think sometimes we just expect too much of technology. So here you can see it's focused on the female at the bottom. And, you know, it's sharp to the second male. And then the third one right over the back, there's no way it's going to get that sharp. That's too far out of the way, okay? No way at all. And to be honest, you don't really need it because it's clearly a bee, but it's not distracting. If it was any more in focus, it would be distracting. But because it's quite diffuse, I think it actually works. And it's quite a nice lean again and quite a nice angle. Yep. This one certainly doesn't work, and that's why I wanted to put it in. So you've got the, you know, obviously the focus stack have worked on the two, but the one at the back, it's too far out of focus, yet it's too dominant in the picture. So this for me would be definitely a delete. I wouldn't keep it. And you have to be really aggressive with your focus stacks, okay? Be really aggressive, but learn while they don't work, because the camera does it the same every single time. Yeah, you can change some parameters, that's all great, but learn from your mistakes, okay? And then you'll make less and you'll get better pictures. That's my philosophy on macro that I've done. Here's one that worked quite well. I really like this. Like you can see here, the focus stack is lovely there. It's all completely sharp all the way across. I like the bent antenna round at the top and the guy falling off at the side. As I say, that's yeah, some good memories there of that. I better not go into my past. But yeah, I just love it. And again, the focus stack has thrown the background out beautifully. You have to help it. You know, you can't focus. You can't photograph a subject that's got a leaf a foot behind it, because it will, you know, the leaf will still be there. So I had the wall of the house, and it was quite some distance away. I crawled in very, very close with the macro lens, managed to focus in nice and close. I may have even used an extension tube on these as well to get in so close. Yeah, the focus stack still works with extension tubes, provided you've got the good extension tubes that have got the golden contacts on. And you can look at the one previously I did on bees in the garden, the flying ones. Remember that all that time ago? If you look at that, you'll see what I mean by the golden contacts. And I think probably, yeah, last but not least, okay, the sideways one is the easiest, you know, focus stack to get working. Here, can you see how many antennas that one on top has got? They're vibrating. And I said sometimes, you know, the slightest movement during a focus stack will result in movement in the final picture. It might not be your movement. It might actually be the antennas twitching between the first shot and the last. don't automatically throw it away. Too many people do throw these away. I think actually it's quite a good comedy fun picture, and I really, really like it. So don't throw away the focus stacks that have got a little bit of vibration and movement in, because I think they can actually look quite good. All right, there's my little guide to focus stacks. Now, before we go any further, I want to dedicate this episode to Alan Marsh, who had a big cancer op last Friday. Hope it went well, mate. Keep on fighting, and you'll be back with us all soon. And I look forward to seeing your pictures here in the critiques. Talking of which, here we are. It's critique time. We haven't done it for a few weeks. Apologies for that, but we're back with a bang now, and we'll get through them, I promise, in the next few episodes. Going to start off with Alison. Sent me a very nice picture of a puffin. She said, I really like your black backgrounds, Andy, and I want to try and get one. I did my best here. What could you do to improve it? Well, do you know what? I like the low angle, first of all. I'm not worried about not being able to see the back of the puffin and that, because I see the action areas, if you like. I can see the sand eels coming out the mouth there. That's very nice. They look a bit burnt out, a bit overexposed. I'm not sure if this is in nice light or whatever. The problem is when you're dealing with a black subject and a white subject that's all rolled into one, it's very difficult to expose for absolutely everything. And it's one of the few times you try and get the light meter with the bell curve in the middle. But look, forget about that. So I like the picture. What do I need to do to it? Well, you wanted a black background, so I can give you that. The thing on the right-hand side there, for me, is completely... Actually, you're probably looking... Anyway, on the right-hand side of the picture, it's no good done like that. It's not your fault. It's some vegetation or some white rocks of poo. So we can get rid of that. And I think we can just colour tone up the picture a bit more. So here's my go. There we go. Woo. So you can see you have a black background as you wanted it. I should say this took me about 3 minutes. So I didn't spend an awful lot of time on it. I spent just what I could. Brought out some detail on the black there and some colour in the puffin there. Toned down the highlights a bit. Giving it a little bit of wash around the bottom just to blur it away a bit. And a bit of a colour tone on the beak because they've got lovely red beaks. So we need to make it stand out. Oh, also the eye. The eye was very black that you got. I'm not the kind of person that's going to put a dot in it. That's not me. A lot of people might put a dot in it. It's very easy to do with a paintbrush, you know, with diffuse edges. I don't do that, so I brightened up the eye for you because there is actual character in a puffin's eye. So you can see a little bit of character there. If you want to put a dot in it, as I say, that's up to you. Dot does show life, which is quite good. But really well done, Alison. I love that one. All right, these are a few images from Paul, taken in zoo, and nothing wrong with that. Paul says, oh, sorry they're taken in the zoo. Nothing wrong with that, my old son. Cockney phrase there. I started off photographing in zoos when I was at uni, and I take my daughter to zoos, or I did when they were open. Wild Place Project, which is great down here. And zoos are great for those of us that are not fortunate enough to travel to Africa and everywhere else and see these animals, which of course is most of us in some ways. And my belief is if you don't see an animal, you'll never want to conserve it. So that's my view on zoos. So never, ever apologise for taking pictures in a zoo. But you've got to make sure when you do that it's doubly good because people are going to be looking to criticise it. Oh, it's just a zoo shot. I want all zoo shots to be really superb. And fortunately, the ones we've picked today are great. All right, so what's this? Very nice pose there. Nice head and shoulders. It works well. There's a lot of burnt out areas on this picture. The ears, the snout, parts of the fur. I think this image has been originally maybe overexposed too much. Apologies if I'm wrong, but it looks like it has too much here and been corrected. When you correct it, you've just got to make sure you correct everything. So there's nothing I can do about those highlight areas there that are burnt out. But what I did, I looked at some of the pictures. You've got it basically lovely in focus. Really nice focus on the eyes, nice intent, nice space going across the frame. It's not your fault what the background is. You can't control that. So you've done a really, really nice job there. I would just say that maybe it was shot a bit too bright. And what have I done to it? Well, I've done what I can. So I've improved the colour tone. The body's not quite right yet, but I only spent 2 or 3 minutes on it. So I'll work on that a bit for you and get the body a bit of a different colour there. But I just brought out some colour tone. I gave the background a bit of a wash just to mute that really annoying thing that was there, whatever it is. And it's just giving it a little bit more of an African feel. Good job. All right, we're still staying with Paul. Now, this is really good. I really like this. Beautiful male lion. And I'm guessing it's a cub. Yeah, really, really great to see this. And really great shot that you've got It's the processing that has let it down a little bit. I don't mean let it down, it's just not brought it to its full potential. You need to make these images pop. They need to jump from the screen, get you by the neck and go, look at me, I'm great. That's what they need to do, especially black and white images. You know, they've really got to have some contrast and some depth. And I'm not the world's expert on black and white, but I know what they kind of should look like. So here's what I did. I gave it some boost, I gave it some punch, I gave it some panache. I gave the highlights of the fur there a bit of a workover. Again, took me 2 or 3 minutes just to make them stand out. I've given it some intensity that wasn't there on the original, I think. So I've made it stand out. A little bit of black wash on the side there. There's a bit of noise coming in the corner, so I've just got rid of that. There's a load of different ways to process this. I probably haven't found the perfect one because I did it quickly. But I think it's a good starting point here. You must always have contrast in black and white pictures. Always, always, always. Okay, so good job there, Paul. And finally, nice one here. Yeah, I like this very, very much. It's kind of what it needs. It's in the middle of one thing and another. You've either got to bring that right-hand eye out a bit more and have the whole thing more intense, or you've got to take that whole side of the face back and create a different kind of intensive picture. There's 2 different variations there. So I removed the logo because don't send me logos when I'm trying to process pictures because it's can be very difficult to remove them and show the pure picture. So here you are, Paul. What I did, I brightened up the right-hand side there just a little bit, not a lot. It doesn't need a lot, but just a little bit. But I left the main dark because I don't want it. I kind of wanted to frame the eye and bring it up. So this is what I would do. I'll bring it up a slight amount like this. I've noticed the depth of field. The nose is actually not quite in focus. So I think you probably need another stop on that. When you're doing such a tight portrait, everything is there to be seen. So everything's got to be as sharp as you can possibly get it. I know you're working in a zoo. I know things are tough. And trust me, I appreciate how difficult they are. So I'm just saying probably need another stop there of the depth of field to get all that in focus. But it's a lovely shot. And then I went the other way. I like the way it does that. And I removed that and kind of gave it so it's looking around a tree at you, so a bit more of an intensive feel. And I haven't wiped it out with black. You could have done that. I just darkened it using a curve. Again, a couple of minutes of effort. Nothing I could do about the burnout on the chin. That was just there. And the burnout on the nose. They're just there, so you just have to tolerate those. But I like the picture, and I like the intensity, and I like the interest, the fact that you saw this and you took it underexposed to give some mood, to give some feeling, and that's how you process it. So you did a really, really good job. Well done. So it's 2 very good photographers so far. And here we have Chris Pearson, also a zoo shot from Dudley. Dudley Zoo, Dudley. I'm awful at accents, as you can tell. So this is the original, and I know that there's some white burnout areas all around it. That happens with tigers all the time. You've got to be really careful. I would always shoot slightly darker and then process it up afterwards because the whites of tigers, I mean, you try doing it in the sunlight in the wild, they just burn out all the time. There's little you can do. Mirrorless seems to be far worse than DSLR at burning out lots of highlights like this. Easy to control, but you just got to know it's going to happen. Love your composition on the side, looking interested, really beautiful. If that was straight on, it'd be dire. I don't mean your picture would be dire. I mean, the composition wouldn't do any justice, but it's lovely straight on. It's really brilliant. I love it with the nose angled up. It makes it look more cute. Really great focus. I can see your focus probably between the eyes, but the nose is sharp as well. Really well done as a tight portrait, and then it fades off in the background. That's exactly what we want. You've cropped it very nicely. If it was a crop, if you shot it like this, double marks. But if you didn't and if you cropped it, I think it's absolutely brilliant. As I say, you've got all the action areas. Good. Now, what did I do to it? Not a lot. I put a bit of colour tone in it. I tried to get the whites back for you and so they didn't highlight. Blended off the edges a little bit more just to give it a tiny bit more oomph out the screen. That's all it needed. It just needed a bit more oomph. And what I would do next time if I was you, when you reprocess this, I would go through and take those highlights out at the raw stage and get them down at the raw stage. And something like Capture One that's ace at doing it. But anyway, very good shot. Oh, it's interesting. Very interesting here. Beautiful damselfly. Interesting composition on the end of the leaf. Yeah, it's good. My issue with this is the noise on the left-hand side there. I don't know what that area is and how come that's appeared so noisy and broken up. It must be in the processing that's gone on and that's done something to that. I tried to remove it. Sorry, I couldn't remove it very, very effectively at all, so I've left it in there in the end. Let me just have a look. Yep, there we are. Actually, no, I did remove it. Sorry, I'm talking absolute crap. I did remove it. Let's go back to the original. So yes, I like the composition, but it's beautiful blue. You've done all the hard work, you know. I just want it to jump from the screen. This is the theme for tonight. I've pictures, images that are really great when the photographer shot them. So you've done a brilliant job, but they need to jump. Now, as I say, I don't know what's happened to that side there, but I've got rid of it for you as much as I can because it was distracting. I've left the bottom left-hand corner there so you can actually see what it was like. I've sharpened it up. I've brought the colours out a lot more. You can notice I've got nicer pastel shades on it, but more vibrant colours. It's sharper. I've cropped it in. You didn't need so much of the top. Okay, so that was my opinion. Of course, my opinion is not always the right one. But other than that, lovely and sharp all the way across and lovely colours. So I hope that helped you a bit. And last but not least for you, Chris, I really like this. This is taken at Crocodile World, which I think is in the Cotswolds, I'm not sure. Now, I like what you've done, okay? I like the mood, I like the angle, I like the focus, the reflection and everything else. The problem is it's a bit too dark to stand out. So we need to just brighten it a touch, but I'm not going to do anything else to it because I don't think I should do anything else to it. So here's what I've done. There we are, very subtle, very, very subtle. So I've just brightened the action areas. I've taken some of the noise out as well because there was noise top and bottom. That's all gone. But what I've done, I've focused on you for the action area. Now, I've kept your picture as it was because that's what you shot. You love it, okay? So I've just brightened it up in the middle with a curve. You can see just a bit. And that's the thing today with all of the pictures, okay? They needed just a little bit of love. And I gave them about 3 minutes each. Okay, apologies. I could have spent longer on them, but I just wanted to show you what you could have done. You should never, ever send a picture out until it jumps out the screen, okay? Don't spend longer than 10 minutes at it, but just make sure that the action areas, the areas that the human eye goes to, they're the vivid ones that are going to draw us in. And I often find with most people's pictures they send me, it is contrast and the jumping out the screen that's the main issue, and that's what I've done today. Anyway, well done, the three of you. You've done an absolutely brilliant job. Thanks for sending them in. I hope that the critiques help. Be proud of what you did. You all did a great job, and I promise you, everyone else, I'll get to them soon. Next time you see us on Wild Angle, we're going to be very different. It's going to be in 2 weeks' time, and there will be some bonus content on the end full of hints and tips and techniques that photographers can learn and enjoy wherever you live in the world. So that's next time. Well, that's the end of episode 11, and I hope that you enjoyed it and you saw how mason bees are really worth putting the effort in to conserve. Good for the environment, good for us, good for our mental health to do something so positive in these times, and also great for our photography. But these mason bees have now got to be put away for the winter into our garage and ready to come out next spring. So I'll say thank you very much, hope that you enjoyed the show, and see you next time. Well, there you go, a bumper show. As always, if you like what you see, please hit the subscribe button and you can read further information in all the text below. Have a look at my social, come to my webinars and e-talks. And once again, get well soon, Alan. We all wish you the best for a speedy recovery.